Oh yeah, my bad about the music. Let me get to that. There we go. Music should be live. And microphone should be on now. All right. Oh yeah, let me check the sound on that. I think I did turn it down, but not 100%. Let me look. Yeah, I'll turn it down a little bit more. There we go. All right, hopefully that sounds good. Let me mute my mic and tune into the stream real quick, and I'll check on my end as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, not sure how to fix that. I can turn microphone up all the way. So that's about as loud as the microphone's gonna get. Is that any better at all? It's creeping into the yellow now. All right, let me test out F11. Testing. F11. Testing. Perfect. Okay, so that works as well. All right, so I think this morning I'm going to concentrate on revising. It's not exciting, but I do need to get it done. So, yeah, if anybody wants to interrupt with a word prompt, go right ahead, but otherwise I will be working on revisions, which is as exciting as it sounds. All right, where are my notes? Where are they? There we go. All right, so the goal for this revision round is to look at where pacing is dragging and add some physical actions and shorter sentences. So let's start with the beginning. I'm wondering if I should write this out as I go. All right, we've made some adjustments to the mic and music volume. We'll see how that works. Okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to do this? Music to 50. All right, let's turn music to 50. Just did. at 50%. All right, sorry, still tweaking with the volume for the music. I'm actually streaming a piano lo-fi station from YouTube, which I love because, I mean, who doesn't love piano music, first off? Unfortunately, I can't play music for myself though when I'm writing, funny enough. I need silence. Okay. Music to 75% in browser. All right, let me open up browser. I think it is at just about 75%. Up or down, Bob? I can't really tell from the little slider what percentage is that. Okay, I'll leave it then. I can hear it fine now. It was a music pause. Ah, okay, sweet. All right. So I think what I might do is start typing out paragraph by paragraph. Sweet. All right, I've been told that the mic problem has been resolved, which is nice. wondering if I should share the windows, the word window at all. And if so, where would I put it? There's just not a lot of space. Maybe above the word count? Let's toy with it. Just spoke my stream of thoughts and reading stuff? Okay. So you don't think I should need to share my word window? Maybe I'll read out loud while I'm working on revising. That way, there's still stuff going on. Shrink it down too. Let me share the window and see what we can do. Okay, so let's add, we want window capture, we want word. All right, select window to capture. All right, that's a little big though, so, oh, well, any smaller and you can't read it. Shit. Because that's my entire word. And I don't know how else. Upper right-hand corner, that's as big as I could make it, and I don't know if you can read anything from that. At the very least, you'll be able to see me work and scroll within the document. I guess in tandem with reading out loud, maybe that'll work. The problem is that if the timer comes on, or if a poll comes up, that's the space reserved for it. Let's play with the look of this too. I don't really like how clear it is, so let's do an advanced mask. Width. You can have the whole width. Can you make it turn off when poll comes up? Because once again, when you're doing a poll, you're not writing, so it does not matter. True. Very true. Yeah, I can check and see if I can do that. The program will need access to OBS, I think, to be able to do that. Or maybe I could do another hotkey. I could zoom in really close. Ah, okay. I will zoom in gradually. Maybe consider putting Gremlin avatar up top right and then the word right bottom and larger. Hell, I could get rid of Gremlin avatar altogether and put this in the bottom. Maybe something like that. And now, let's see, outer. The outer feathering. I can read it now when it's in full screen. Okay. All right, so you can read it. Cool. How does that look on stream? I kind of want the corner, all the corners to be, I want it to be like fuzzy at the edges. Alpha mask, rectangle. Okay, width, height. Oh, there we go. That fuzzes it up a little bit. And then width. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Okay. Now, how do I... I put a minor opaque layer on it to soften it a hair. The white is stark compared to the rest of the stream. Okay, let's put another... let's see how to do this. Select color, black. Okay, that's not doing anything. Blend, no. Shit, I don't know how to use all these filters. Okay, so we can trash that layer. That didn't do it. All right, husband to the rescue. Let me mute my microphone. Okay, I think that looks okay. Oh, it is so bright though. I do wish I could find color correction, brightness. Is this doing anything? Yes, okay, so that does do a little bit. All right, I reduced the brightness a tad. That might look a little bit better now. Maybe opacity too? No. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now that's on screen. I did find it, yes. Sorry, I couldn't let it be. All right, so now we have a window. It was under color correction. That let me do transparency and brightness. Also, I'm wondering, I probably have to do the set summary in chat, but testing. Did that do anything? Yeah, it's got to be in chat. A window for you to set summary on start screen. Well, because I think I have to. How would we do that? Because it's got to be done in the stream itself, in the chat, in the Kick chat. Right. Well, I think I've got like 20, not quite 20 minutes left. I suppose I could stream longer since I'm gonna stay working from home. I think we can utilize Botrix to do it. They got APIs, I think. Ooh, yeah. That might be something worth trying. Okay. Should we go offline to try setting that up, or just worry about that next time? It's not for sure, okay. Oh, I didn't think about the word being over that. Okay, let's move that up a little then. There we go. Maybe I'll put this in the center here. No, it's got to go down here because that other thing, the suggestions as well. Because try to do a suggestion real quick. I think it's just exclamation mark and then suggest and then type something afterwards. Did that work? Damn, okay, so suggestions not working. But try suggest instead of suggestion. Yeah, I'm looking at, yeah, it's just the word suggest, exclamation mark suggest. Love me tender. Yeah, okay, so that still shows up. Cool. And was it clear suggestions? No, okay, I have to find what I have to type again to get rid of suggestions. Let me see. I'll memorize these all eventually. Clear suggest. Okay, that's what it is. Clear suggest. There we go. Sweet. All right. This is almost looking like a professional stream. All right, so we have a prompt for writing. Oh, and when I minimize Word, it minimizes it there. That's nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on making sure I am not typing before I hit F11. That will take some practice. Okay, so our words are savory, muscle, syringe, and propagate. Shit. Okay, that's... Breed specimens of both plant and animal by natural processes from the parent stock. Okay, so that's what I thought it meant. All right, so for propagation... Oh. All right, I gotta make sure I don't type it there. There we go. All right. Savory, muscle, syringe, and propagate. Maybe we'll write a horror first thing this morning. That's kind of my forte, so let's lean into that. No, cold and... The lab was cold and brightly lit. Oh, Bob, you know me. Okay, the lab was cold and brightly lit. The sterile tools. I don't like that. The lab was cold and brightly lit. Sterile tools. Gleaming as they rested on the table. Waiting. Dr. Freeman. Because that's a classic name. Dr. Freeman. Stood. Add channel reward thingies. Channel points to do things. Set kick. I think I do have channel rewards actually. Do exclamation mark points. And you should have a point system. I think I have maybe roulette installed. Yeah, see, you've got points. Let me see what Botrix provides real quick. Botrix. Let's see. Oh, channel stuff and kick. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that. I know there's goals, and I've got a follower goal.
These are the kick and channel stuff.
You're on Mike.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. Where's that at?
No, that's gold.
Yeah, I have a goal set already.
Oh crap! I'll have to remember maybe in here.
Chat settings, identity, chat appearance, mod actions.
No.
No.
Okay, I forget where it is. I'll find it again for you. But it's basically the stuff at the bottom of the chat right here.
Yeah.
And they can click on it, and then if they have enough time that they watched on your chat, they can do stuff. You can set it to do stuff, so they can force you to write a prompt or something like that using their points.
Maybe drop some rewards?
I mean, you get the points just by watching.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, yeah, we'll have to look around.
I'll show it. I'll show you it. There's a couple things they added.
Okay. All right, so back to the word prompts.
Yeah.
The lab was cold and brightly lit. The sterile tools gleaming as they rested on the table waiting. Dr. Freeman stood nearby, surveying the setup. His goal was simple. Propagate. Ugh, I can write. Propagate. Propagate the sample. And the other petri dishes. Oh, shit. I didn't have typing turned on. Well, that'll do it. Stood surveying the setup. His goal was simple. Propagate the sample in the other petri dishes. They propagate the sample in the other petri dishes. And patent the system? I don't know. Yeah, sure. Patent the system. He began his work. Let's see. He began his work. He took. He moved to the left where the fresh samples sat in a clean dish. Hi, Dory. I don't know if you can hear the cat meowing, but he's here saying hello. Hi, buddy. Okay, he slipped it into the sample and pulled out some genetic material. Step 1 completed. Let's see, he expelled the liquid onto the plate. Then he repeated the process. Cat is sitting on my lap demanding love. Sorry. You know, when a cat's on your lap, you kind of have to give in to the demands. Okay, then he repeated the process 3 more times. Closed the dishes, then put them in the EQ space chore. And he waited. Days passed. Say. Hours passed. Days. Well, I thought I was gonna write a horror, but now I'm not thinking it's gonna be a horror. Let me see. Let me read the whole thing. So the lab was cold and brightly lit, the sterile tools gleaming as they rested on the table, waiting. Dr. Freeman stood nearby, surveying the setup. His goal was simple: propagate the sample in the other petri dishes and patent the system. He began his work. He moved to the left where the fresh sample sat in a clean dish, then he grabbed a syringe. He slipped it into the sample and pulled out some genetic material. Step 1 completed. He moved to the next petri dish and expelled the liquid onto the plate. Sorry, interruption. Okay, what was I? So, let's see. Step 1 completed. He moved on to the next petri dish and expelled the liquid onto the plate. Then he repeated the process 3 more times. He closed the dishes, then put them in the incubator. Then he waited. Hours passed. Days. When he checked on the samples again, pulling them out and laying them across the table, he stared down with a satisfied grin. A row of freshly grown muscles lay before him. Success. Without thinking too deeply, Dr. Freeman reached forward and lifted a muscle lifted a muscle and popped it into his mouth. To his mouth. Popped it into his mouth. He used his tongue to compress the morsel against the roof of his mouth. Juice squeezing out and splashing across his tongue. The brine of sea was missing, but there was still a savory taste to it. All right, all the words have been used. All right, now we just got to wrap this up. All right. But there was still a savory taste to it. He chewed them slowly, enjoying the meaty taste. Now, I say meaty taste, but I don't know that I've ever actually eaten a mussel, so I have absolutely no idea what it tastes like. We'll go with meaty. Enjoying the meaty taste. or swallowing it down. Let's see, how do we want to... Oh, please let this go full food wars and crazy reactions happen. That would be funny now. Okay, yeah, why not? Because this is your prompt, Bob, we'll make it Food Wars style. As the taste spread across his... as the flavor spread across his taste buds. Delight. The delight. Let's see. As the flavor spread across his taste buds, the delight flowed down his body in a... let's see. It flowed down his body in a... And I what? What do I want to say here? In a... How do I want to describe this? Okay, if we're going to go Food Wars style, his clothes have to burst off of him. And he has to basically have like a religious experience over the food. Oh, all right, Bob. Thanks. All right, as the flavor spread across his taste buds, the delight flowed down his body in a swirl of sensations. Warmth spread. Subtle hints of umami. Burning. Subtle hints of umami. Lingering. Spread. Subtle hints of umami lingered. Subtle hints of umami lingered, and he let out a satiated sigh. I think I'll just end it there. I can't really think of a way to turn this into horror. I mean, other than really making it long. And this is kind of still a test stream, so I don't want to go there. But hey, I used all the prompt words, so that counts for something. All right, I guess we'll read out the entire short before we get rid of the prompts as a sort of like completionary thing. So, the lab was cold and brightly lit, the sterile tools gleaming as they rested on the table waiting. Dr. Freeman stood nearby, surveying the setup. His goal was simple: propagate the sample in the other petri dishes and patent the system. He began his work. He moved to the left where the fresh sample sat in a clean dish, then he grabbed a syringe. He slipped it into the sample and pulled out some genetic material. Step 1 completed. He moved on to the next petri dish and expelled the liquid onto the plate. Then he repeated the process 3 more times. He closed the dishes, then put them in an incubator. Then he waited. Hours passed. Days. When he checked on the samples again, pulling them out and laying them across his table, he stared down with a satisfied grin. A row of freshly grown muscles lay before him. Success. Without thinking too deeply, Dr. Freeman reached forward and lifted a muscle, then popped it into his mouth. He used his tongue to compress the morsel against the roof of his mouth, juice squeezing out and splashing across his tongue. The brine of the sea was missing, but there was still a savory taste to it. He chewed then, slowly, enjoying the meaty taste before swallowing it down. As the flavor spread across his taste buds, the delight flowed down his body in a swirl of sensations. Warmth spread. Subtle hints of umami lingered, and he let out a satiated sigh. He would change the world with this. Okay, I'm satisfied. I used all the prompt words. Now let's get rid of that. And let's open up Word again. Let's get that hidden. Okay. So, I think the opening paragraph still is good. So streams of sunlight filtered in through a thick canopy overhead, scattering gold coins across the dark forest floor. Ferns arched into them. New shoots, green and growing, pushed their way up through humic soil, reaching for the precious warmth. Leaves rustled. A thin column of light swayed as the branches above shifted in the breeze, settling at last against the coarse trunk of a towering red spruce like a deliberate invitation. Eleanor Fields had been staring at it for almost an hour. She should have moved on already. The schedule in her journal said she should have, but something about this tree kept nudging at her attention, quietly and persistent. Its needles were thinning in places. Not enough to draw alarm from a distance, but enough that she could feel the imbalance if she looked too long, and she'd been looking for far too long. She crouched to the side of the trunk and ran her fingers lightly across the bark. It was warm from the sun, textured and firm beneath her touch. Alive. On paper, she was conducting a bark beetle survey, a simple enough task. Find the damage, log the coordinates, collect a few samples, move on. The kind of work that looked painfully dull to anyone who didn't love forests. To anyone who did not love forests. Eleanor, however, loved forests. She slipped the tip of her knife under a loose curl of bark and lifted it away with care. A narrow trail of damage ran through the exposed wood, delicate as stitching. A beetle scurried inside, glossy and dark, trying to tuck itself out of sight. Oh, Eleanor murmured, smiling despite herself. There you are. Does this expand? Okay, so it does not expand when I expand it. She coaxed the insect into a vial with her pinky and capped it, adding a small note to her journal. I think a journal note might be good here. Adding a small note to her journal. What might a field scientist say about a beetle? Coaxed the insect into a vial with her pinky and capped it, adding a small note to her journal. Let's see. Size optimal. Size optimal. No, I don't like that. She coaxed the insect into a vial with her pinky and capped it, adding a small note to her journal. It was only a single piece in a vast puzzle, but she liked that. The way each detail could matter, small or large. Ugh, that feels okay too. Oh, that's 268. Let's see. There we go. That ought to look a little bit better. Oops. Alright, I think I'm gonna make this the same size as I'm gonna make my Word document the same size as this window, so we are seeing the same thing. Alright, that ought to do it. New E. Okay, so I can't have my navigation pane open. That kind of sucks, but I can live with that. Alright, let's see. The forest murmured around her. Cicadas hummed across the canopy. Something small moved through a nearby undergrowth. The smell of wet earth and green things growing filled the air. Her watch vibrated and let out a soft chime. Eleanor sighed, late again. She tucked her pencil away, secured the vials, and straightened, brushing dirt from her knees. Camp was still a good hike away, and she preferred to make it back before the light faded entirely. She checked her GPS track log. 1 kilometer southeast. A bend she didn't remember making, then east another. She had just begun to turn when a sharp cry cut through the trees ahead of her. It wasn't the call of any bird she recognized, the sound too raw and urgent. Something streaked through the undergrowth, wings flashing in the light. A beat later came the flurry of smaller, glittering shapes in pursuit, too fast and too small to make sense of. A swarm. Eleanor froze. Whatever it was burst to the brush ahead of her in a rush of red motion and zipped past. Okay, can we make this first page any stronger? I think it's pretty good so far, but I don't know. I've tried pushing for an agent already and have not gotten any nibbles. So it's hard to tell. Let's see. Shake weight, huh? Oh shit, it's almost been an hour. Oh, I gotta send a text. Hang on. All right, let me send it this text message. Oh, hey Bob, do you think I should lessen the Botrix commands still? Are they still coming out too frequently? Because it kind of feels like they are, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's too frequent. Okay, so let's change that. Timers. All right, change this to every 30 minutes. We'll change this to every 25 minutes. And we'll change this to every 20 minutes. All right, hopefully that does it. That doubled the time. So hopefully that works out. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I can do to this first page. It seems pretty solid. Alright, she had just begun to turn when a sharp cry cut through the trees ahead of her. It wasn't the call of any bird she recognized, the sound too raw and urgent. Something streaked through the undergrowth, wings flashing in the light. A beat later came the flurry. Something streaked through the undergrowth, wings flashing in the light. A beat later came the flurry of smaller, glittering shapes in pursuit, too fast and too small to make sense of. A swarm. Eleanor froze. Whatever it was burst through the brush ahead of her in a rush of red motion and zipped past. Eleanor reeled forward. Branches snagged at her sleeves as she pushed through the undergrowth. For a moment, I can't use the word undergrowth. Through the vegetation. There we go. For a moment, all she caught was the rush of flittering wings, the flash of something ruby bright cutting through the dense green of forest. Then it broke into the nearby clearing. Her breath stalled, and time crawled. A bird tore across the open space just above the ground, its wings flailing in frantic, uneven bursts. A cardinal, she realized distantly. Its red was too vivid, startling against the brown. Perched atop its back was something that should not have been. Let's see. I think somebody mentioned that the coming scene was a little confusing, so maybe I will tackle that. One hand buried in soft red down as the other flung itself wide for balance, a small figure clung to the bird's feathers. He was smaller than a sparrow, slender and pale, with wings folded tight against his back. For half a heartbeat, Eleanor thought she was seeing things, her mind scrambling for a shape that made more sense. Then the swarm came and time commenced. Dozens of smaller shapes poured into the clearing after him. They rode shards of glass that glittered in the sunlight. Dragonflies. The swarm moved as one, a cloud of wings and bodies, riders so small and quick that they muddled together. Particulate streaks of light cracked through the air ahead of them, thin shoots of green first, then gold, the light bursting against tree trunks and soil in sharp, silent flares. Magic. The word brushed against Eleanor's thoughts and slid away again, too impossible to hold. The cardinal veered away to avoid a strike that burst just behind it. Feathers scattered. The bird cried out, a raw, panicked sound. That was used earlier, so we're going to change that. Raw and urgent, so we don't want to use raw again. The bird cried out a piercing, panicked sound. A chill ran through Eleanor's spine. Its wings faltered just for a moment, and that was enough. Swarm was gaining. Swarm was gaining. The bird and rider swooped around the clearing, evading one stream of light after another, heading back in her direction. An attack? Eleanor... I don't like that there, so let's do an enter. Eleanor took a step forward without quite meaning to. Her GPS was still on, quietly marking the place she'd left behind. Her camp was a steady dot on the map. She could still turn back. She knew she should. She knew she should. The little figure on the bird twisted to look over his shoulder, and when he turned back, there was a bright blue splash on his brow. Blood? And whatever expression crossed his face made her stomach tighten. He was afraid. That was when the strange floating scene snapped into something she could understand. Not magic, not fantasy, just a living thing being hunted. A life about to be snuffed out of existence. No. She broke into a run. By the time she reached the edge of the clearing, the cardinal was struggling, its wings heavy and uneven. A bright flare of light struck one of its feathers, leaving a smoking mark behind, and the bird screamed. The small rider nearly lost his grip. Eleanor didn't think, she just moved. And we are at the hour mark. I think I'm actually going to wrap it up here because I do have other things I need to do this morning, unfortunately. But yeah, I kind of like the Word document. We save. All right, that closes nicely. And I guess whenever Word is not on, I can have my little gremlin face back up. All right. Well, that is that. So thank you for tuning in. And yeah, I'm going to try to do this regularly. And hopefully the Twitter X announcement thing, I can get that working. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a good rest of your morning. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Our time here is over. Our time here is past. It went by so swiftly. It went by so fast. But here we all are, just saying goodbye. We'll meet up again soon. Watch the hour fly. So goodbye, my lovelies. Goodbye, my sweet dear.